that coach has a pretty good sense about if you can compete at their level or not. And we're going to talk a lot about what that means and the different levels of college soccer. But I would recommend to everybody, if you're just getting to know the sport and learn about it, I'll tell you this, there's great soccer at all levels, whether it's D1, D2, D3, NAIA, or even junior college. And people go to those levels for different reasons. But if you're talking about the top tier of each of those groups, the top D2 teams, the CCAA is the California group with teams like Cal State Los Angeles, Dominguez Hills, Cal State San Bernardino. Those are really competitive soccer. Okay? There are, obviously, I'm sure you're aware of women's soccer, there are some uber elites. UCLA is here, for example, the Pac-12 schools, Washington, those are certainly athletically at the next level. But there's another 300 and some colleges after that elite pool that any of the D2s here could play with pretty well, and could certainly not just be competitive but win on their day. And that follows to D3 too. I mean, Carnegie Mellon's here. My friend Chris Moraga, he's here. He's had that team in the Final Four of the Division III national tournament multiple years now in a row. That's an amazing soccer culture and community. They are competing at a really high level. Could they be North Carolina? Okay, maybe not quite North Carolina. But I guarantee you they give anybody a run for their money, and they certainly wouldn't get blown out by anybody. They're good teams. And so one reason that I love this game is I think trying to open players and parents and families' eyes to the opportunities that exist across the soccer landscape. Getting out of just ESPN mentality where it's like, oh, well, I see UCLA on ESPN and that's cool. Yeah, very cool. Certainly. I'm part of that too. I watch as well. But the more coaches I meet, the more people I meet, the more that you realize that 99% of these players, they have the opportunity to compete at college at any level. The holistic person that comes out of that experience is really the end goal of that experience, right? It's not just about the game. They're going to go on and be professional just like you are in something outside of the sport in all likelihood, or certainly outside of the professional aspects of the sport. And that is true for even most UCLA players, to be perfectly honest with you. Yeah, they do have more pros than other programs, but the majority of that roster goes on to be professional in something other than sports, and their soccer experience informs everything else they do. Exact, as I said, I've been with it for 17 years. In 2009, I started the soccer team program. I was actually, so our background is in behavioral psychology. So a lot of what you see here, the journals that you saw the girls looking to start, the elevator pitch idea, all of that comes from this core, this core trait of Exact, which is we believe in the mental game being the separator. And, early on in Exact, my job was to meet with professional scouts. We had a series of behavioral assessments that would be mixed with professional teams, where they would basically look at a youth athlete who was being a draft pool for a given year. So, for example, I worked with the Chicago Blackhawks, I worked with the Detroit Red Wings, I worked with, New York Red Bulls, Anaheim Angels, among others, and providing behavioral profiles with the idea that, everybody knows sort of the top 10 kids in a given draft year. Those are the names they talk about on ESPN all the time. But the teams that win at the professional level are the teams that usually draft well in the second, third, fourth, fifth round, when those players kind of all pool together and they have strengths and weaknesses and they're really hard to differentiate, and the scouts, they will have strong differing opinions. And we taught them to say, hey, look, where that player is going to separate themselves is by what's going on up here. And similar to the transition, so after working with pros for a while, I started working with colleges. And the first college coach that called me back was Anson Dorrance. This is I think it was the fall of 2008. Anson called me, and I had just started reaching out to colleges. So for Anson Dorrance to call me on the telephone and be like, hey, I really believe in the mental side of success. I think it's the biggest differentiator at the college level. When I fail with recruiting, it's not because the girl doesn't have the technical, tactical skills or the physical skills to compete. I can spot a North Carolina player. I know what she looks like. What I don't know is when she gets to North Carolina and she's playing a 21-year-old who's got 3 years of ACC experience and 3 years of North Carolina training and 3 years of strength and diet at the University of North. I have no idea how that girl is going to compete when she gets a butt kicked and is no longer the alpha on the roster. Okay? And so I've worked with Anson for a number of years. Through his network, then I started to meet other college coaches. And Janet Rayfield, the head coach of the University of Illinois, she played for Anson back in the 1980s. We were talking on the phone. I was doing some consulting with the lineman from Chicago. And Janet said, you know what would be cool is if we did a camp where you guys did the sports psychology sessions as sort of like, we'll train on the field and then we'll do sports psych stuff in the classroom. And we'll kind of come up with this camp concept. So really, I owe a big part of where this has gone to that initial conversation with Janet. We hosted our first soccer camp actually in Chicago, indoor camp, January 2009. And it was just an epiphany moment for me. I went out there, and I didn't know this at the time, but when Janet Rayfield calls all the coaches in the Big Ten to come to Chicago to work in camp, they all show up because they're fascinated in what Janet's doing. That first step, it would never be easier again to get a coaching staff than it was when Janet was making calls for me. Maybe I should recruit her again to come back and do that. It was an amazing coaching staff, and 75 parents, families showed up to go through that camp, and when we were like, this is cool. This is something that we could really do. And since then, we run something like 240 soccer camps a year, both single day and then these multi-day formats. We're doing football, we're doing basketball, we're doing baseball. And it's really exciting to see this take off, but it all comes down to that core belief about youth development and really trying to provide not only people with exposure, that's one part of it certainly. As you can see, there's a lot of coaches here, you're going to have a chance to be seen by all of them, but also then making the player realize you can take control of the journey. You can be in charge of your path, but know that nothing's given to you, and that if you really want to do this, that path is there for you, but also knowing what that means. And I think that's the hardest thing at this age is it's very easy to say I am a college athlete and to say that's my goal. But so often, it's not their fault, but at these camps all the time, a girl will come up and be like, oh, it's North Carolina here, I want to talk to them. And you sort of, that's, by the way, there's nothing wrong with dreaming to play at the highest level. I'm not saying that at all. And if that's what gets you out of bed, that's awesome. There's nothing wrong with that. But I also want to kind of reality check. Okay, I've been down to the U15 training, national team training center to watch those players play. I remember 7 years ago, I was there with Trinity Rodman was there. And I'm watching this, that's Dennis Rodman's daughter. She's on the U.S. women's national team. Her dad has a certain pedigree, I think, as an athlete, pretty solid, NBA Hall of Famer, good genes. Trinity was the best thing I'd ever seen. And it makes you go, oh, or that exists, right? That is that sort of next level thing. But it doesn't mean you can't play college soccer if you're not Trinity Rodman. You know what I mean? There's only a certain responsible player. There's thousands of spots for your daughters. And our goal here is to help them find a fit. And that's what it's all about. It's if we can, hopefully in these sessions, I can be a guide to help you as parents with some of your questions. I've got a great team of people here with me as well. They're working right now, but Bianca Keel's here. Kyle, Keil. E makes the I and I, is that the deal? It's magic. And you guys know I've been other than I we spent a lot of time on magic. Anyway, Dan Palmer, he helped many of you already, but he was a women's college coach for 30 years. He was coaching at that level. Ryan Wright is here as well. He was on the outskirts of that. Anyway, my team is here to help all of you. You can stop any of us at any time. If you have questions, if you have specific to your own recruiting journey, whatever's going on, we'd love you to leave this camp with some answers. I would caution you on this. A recruiting journey is usually more than just one stop. Okay, so we're going to get a snapshot of your daughter over the next 3 days. And for some of you, certainly, college coaches is going to reach out after camp and start that journey for you, which is fantastic. Even if a coach is contacting you for the first time, just because they see you here and think you're a good player here doesn't mean the job interview's over. It's sort of like, okay, now we start to figure out, can I meet your club coach? Can I talk to, can I get more information? Where are you academically? When are you going to college? Do you fit our style? Is this a system that you can flourish in? College coaches have 1,000 questions to answer before they pick the player who gets one of the few roster spots in the institution. And so just keeping that in mind, But that said, you should leave having a better sense of how to market yourself, how to, get your name out there, how to, put your daughter in control going to go to tournaments, and coaches are going to give you, there's a higher chance they'll show up. And that's really all we can ask is, will you show up and judge me? Is really what we're asking in any part of this process. And the more you do that, the more likely you are to find that soccer fit. And then once you find the soccer fit, all the other stuff then has to work too. So it's not just over because you're good enough to play at that level. That's just the beginning, right? It's like, I think you can play here. Well, now, okay, what are your grades? Do you qualify academically? Can you get my school? Can your family afford my school? Does you have a financial package that works for you? Are the players on my team a good cultural fit for you as a player? They're different everywhere. Not, a school in Stillwater, Oklahoma is going to be very different from a school in Southern California. It's going to be very different from a school in the Northeast, right? Every one of these things. And that's part of her journey and her, evaluating and growing that understanding. So across the next 3 days, I hope that we can have lots of conversations about those sorts of things, and that you can leave here feeling empowered to guide her own journey and find her fit at the next level. Because that's the ultimate goal. She should be inspired to work a little bit harder. There's a lot that needs to be done. But we've got some great people here for the next 3 days, some great speakers that are going to be involved in providing guidance on the mental side of the game, and then just some awesome training sessions with our crew out there on the field. So with that, I do just want to go through the schedule really quickly. All of you have this breakdown. So, page 1 is everybody's email address. That's cool. I would say this, if she meets a coach today, tomorrow, whatever, it really never hurts, even while you're at camp, to drop them a quick email and say, hey, it was so cool meeting you. Can we connect at all tomorrow? You know what I mean? Just let them know that you're thinking about them. I think that's a great thing to do. So, again, trying to market yourself means sometimes you got to be a squeaky wheel. The next page is our team schedule, okay? So right now, your daughters are broken down into what we call evaluation teams. A is playing B, C is playing D, E is playing F, G is playing H. That's across the complex right now. That's happening. Okay, the evaluation games are made for this first opportunity to get eyes on, really kind of not guys off, get the legs moving, and warm up to the whole environment here and get comfortable. After that, at let's see, it'll be 3:45 today. The evaluation games are going to be over. We're going to bring back to the tent. We're going to have a bunch of snacks in the back and hydration stations for the athletes. And then TJ Kostecki, who is he's the head coach at Bard, he is going to be speaking here. He's also a performance coach, and he's actually got a book coming out on Amazon called Eyes Up. That's coming out in February, and he's just got an amazing story, amazing journey. I'm super stoked to have him be part of our performance team here. You guys are honestly, this doesn't happen at every exact camp, but you're really fortunate to be here with TJ. TJ's going to be speaking today at 4 o'clock to 4:45. You're all welcome to fill in the back while TJ's speaking up front. And I think you're really going to love what you're going to hear. We've also partnered with TJ to do sort of a masterclass online training course. So that's something that you can access from the camp dashboard. But you get a sneak preview in a way here, where he's going to be in the flesh talking and inspiring young athletes to take it to the next level. At 4:45, I'm going to come back up. We're going to announce our camp teams. Okay, this camp is broken into 8 teams. 8 teams will then compete in a camp tournament, and across the 3 days, we'll be tracking Golden Boot, we'll be tracking Golden Gloves, and we're going to name a camp champion. Just part of the underlying fun of the journey. So all of your daughters will be on a team. That team will have 2 or 3 college coaches who are responsible for the team. They will play every other team, which means that every player will be seen by every coach across the 3 days. They'll have at least one game in front of that coach. There's also going to be training sessions and other things going on. But just so you know, that the showcase element is here. It's a very good system for getting everybody seen. From 5 to 6 p.m. then, those teams are going to go to the fields. We do have, they'll get to meet their team coach, and we do have what we call the Level Up Sweepstakes going. So basically, that first training session is going to be dedicated towards creating a Level Up video as a team, and then that's for TikTok. And the winning team for the summer, so across all the women's camps we run, every player on that team gets a $100 Nike gift card as part of that. It's just having some fun and motivating kids, whatever. So that's Level Up. Day 2. If you are a goalkeeper parent, your day 2 starts earlier than everybody else. We have a goalkeeper showcase, which is a dedicated viewing of our entire college staff of all the goalkeepers at camp. We've just found that putting goalkeepers into nets in gameplay is not necessarily the best way to guarantee that they get to be truly seen by a coach, because you never know what's going to happen in a game. So we isolate and bring all 50 coaches to the middle of the field. They observe all the keepers training across 4 stations for an hour. So that's a nice thing. The rest of you need to be here at 8:30 when we have a 9 a.m. training session start. So really, I just ask for everybody, please, if they're not staying with us, love them to be here, 30 to 15 minutes ahead of time, just so that we make sure they get to the right field, right space, and when our coaches report and they say, let's go, they're all ready. Once your daughter's in the flow of the day, we have her. So you guys can feel free to go to explore the 25 wineries within 15 minutes of here, or you can watch soccer. It's totally up to you. Maybe mix a little bit of both, but it is a fun place to be, so I would take advantage of that. From there, once your daughter's team is announced, if she's on team 1, you just follow the team 1 schedule, okay? And that's all you have to remember. So she doesn't have a team right now other than this eval team. At 5 o'clock tonight, the eval team disappears. It doesn't matter if she checked in with A, B, C, D, whatever. She's then on team 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, whichever one, and then that is the schedule you follow for the camp. Make sense? And you can see your game fields, showcase fields are in the schedule, etc. If you're a goalkeeper parent, your schedule is on the back, and your schedule is a mix between the team schedule, which you will be assigned to a team, as well as the goalkeeper specific schedule. So there's some things you need to do with goalkeepers that you should be aware of. So any questions on that schedule piece, sort of the structure of camp? Tonight the pickup will be at 6 p.m. Tomorrow night the pickup will be at 5 p.m. And on day 3, it does take us a little while to get to the camp close. We have championship games and then, some t-shirts to hand out and stuff. So please, I'll have music in the tent. We'll be having fun, but just let us get that done. I'll do a camp close. We'll announce the Golden Boot winner. We'll announce the tournament champions. Every team we're going to have we call it standard bearer. So basically the team captain that the coaches will nominate for each team. So trying to do ways to, just really recognize people throughout the camp and hopefully the girls will embrace, because that is a fun thing as well. Also on day 3, I should bring this up, at 1:45 p.m. we do have an all-camp game. So that is where we will have 2 basically all-star teams that are voted on by the coaches that will come together to compete, and we invite everybody to watch that as well. So that's a breakdown of the full schedule. Again, is there any questions on that front? Bathrooms, they're really all over the complex, but there's a set of porta potties on that side. There is, we call them executive bathrooms on this side. So it's, they're much nicer over here. So just a heads up. That's, but plenty of space for everybody. And then, let's see. There's nothing with the rest of this that you can't navigate on your own. Look, it is a pleasure to be here. As I said, we do have a great group of coaches. A lot of these people, I've been running this event in Southern California since 2016. This is our 3rd year at this complex. As I said, I just think this is a tremendous setup for this particular event. It's a lot of fun. We have a great, the coaches, I have good relationships with these people. I think they really buy into what we're trying to do. They understand how important it's the interpersonal networking and connections. I just think that's so huge. So often, we forget that these people, they compete, but they're also often pretty close friends. And I don't know a single college coach who doesn't want a young athlete to succeed, whether it's with their program or not. Sometimes you'll follow the recruiting process, and for whatever reason, I've got 7 spots and you're my 8th kid. That means that you were a really high person on my list. I thought you could really contribute to my team. I thought you could compete with me. But in the end, just the way that the chips fell, it didn't work out with me. I'm absolutely going to advocate for you to other people in my network once we get to that stage, if it comes to that, if you don't have that yourself, So it does matter the impression you make and the people that you meet, because you are building your own network now. And your daughter should feel empowered to do that. Obviously, the elevator pitch is, it's an activity that we're trying to, kind of loosen people up with a little bit. But my hope is that we see throughout the transition to camp and things going on, the players that really embrace this, they will find opportunities to say, our coach is matches, or as we're walking on lunch, there's lots of chances. And that makes this sport really unique. We really do try to set time aside to allow some of those things to happen. I'm going to be in here, hopefully inspiring your daughters to do as much of that as possible. But ultimately it is her choice, her journey, and if she embraces it, she can have a lot of success with that here. And then hopefully, you leave and you have a better sense of, oh, maybe this is a college where we want to go to their camp, a single day ID camp on their campus or whatever. Or maybe this fall you schedule time to go watch a game at their school. Or even if you're from out of this area, maybe you're just getting online and watching the game and keeping in touch with the coach that way. Whatever it is, there's a lot of ways to do it. But hopefully, again, you should leave this camp with a better idea of how to do all that. I'd love to get you guys out there to the fields to watch games. That's really what's next. You can see they're warming up right now and just kind of getting ready, but they're going to start playing soon. Before I leave, do you guys have any questions at all for me or my team that we can answer? Dealing, John, kind of with the general structure, times, anything at all on that front? Yes? Absolutely, yeah. So the question was, in the past and ongoing, we do written feedback. So all of your daughters will be assigned to a team. So if the team one is, has two coaches on it, those two coaches are responsible for providing the written reports for the players on that team. That will be delivered after camp. So at camp, you can expect a verbal evaluation as well as pretty constant feedback. And after camp, coaches sort of summarize all that and clean, tie with a bow, an online report that you can review and hopefully, obviously, I don't allow parents to sit in on the verbal interaction with the coach. Again, this is about her journey. But I'm also aware that means that whatever information you get from her after that meeting, maybe it's brief. There's certain things 16-year-olds are good at making very brief memos about, and I'm pretty sure you're going to hear, he said I was good. Yeah, good. Did he use more than one word to say that, darling? No, he said I was good, Mom. I'm good. So hopefully the written evaluation will answer some of those questions for you as well. But yeah, no, thank you for asking. That's a good point. We do, that's a big part of this actually. We want to make sure that every player gets feedback, both on, both to help them as in terms of getting recruited, but also just in terms of helping their game and giving them a sense of what they need to work on to improve. So it's certainly part of it. Any other questions? Cool. Well, look. If you have anything that's specific to your journey on the side, I think Dan's back here. Dan Palmer, right here. He coached college soccer for 35 years, has a ton of knowledge. He really understands, honestly, if you have any questions about the financial side of it, Dan has a lot of experience on that front. So, and then as you've met Bianca already, she is the head coach of Minnesota Morris, and she understands the women's athletics. She's been at a lot of different levels of college soccer as well, and has been working in the game a long time. So from a soccer perspective, those two can help you a ton. As I mentioned, I've been doing this for a really long time as well, and so I have a pretty good understanding of how this all goes, and I'd be happy to speak to you. So use us as a resource. You have access to us across these 3 days. I really appreciate all of you being here, and I hope that you have a tremendous experience. I look forward to servicing your daughters and hopefully providing them with some motivation and honestly, just a good time as well. I think this is a really fun camp, great format, great location, great coaches. There's no reason this shouldn't be a blast. So with all that said, I want to thank you all for being here. If you, as I said, A, B on field 1, C, D 2, D, E 3, no, I did that wrong, didn't I? AB1, CD2, EF3, GH4 is the field breakdown. So that's where